Hello, I'm Alison Kysia. I am a Muslim woman artist. I create contemporary abstract Islamic sculpture and functional pottery and socially engaged art experiences to build community and connection. And I did not start out as an artist. In my early life, I was not exposed to the arts. Though I had a number of friends who were artists, and I really believed that somehow they were born with this magical power to make art. And I simply didn't think that I had access to becoming an artist. I hadn't really thought about it until I went to college, and I really wanted to take a ceramics class, and I couldn't get in because the art majors at my school would fill up the classes before I could get into them. So I wasn't able to pursue art at that time, though I was extremely passionate about social justice, and I ended up getting a degree in race, class, and gender studies. And that was my bachelor's degree. I taught for many years, and then I earned a master's degree in history, taught history for many years, US history, world history, Islamic Civ, and did some interfaith education as well. And I did, though, finally, after I graduated from college, I took a community ceramics class at a local art studio when I lived in Boston. And it changed my life forever. As soon as I touched the clay, I knew that it was something I deeply loved. And the whole reason that I wanted to work with clay is because in the Quran and in many religious texts, it says that God made us out of clay. And I was always really fascinated, like, wow, so this was God's number one art material. And so I want to know what it's like to use this. And I immediately fell in love with the material, and I was a wheel thrower. I was really kind of a fundamentalist wheel thrower. I really wouldn't even experiment with anything outside of wheel throwing. So I didn't sculpt, I didn't do any hand building, strictly the wheel. And the wheel takes an enormous amount of practice, and I loved it because wheel throwing, to me, it was almost like another, one of the reasons I like religion is because I like ritual. And I realized the great benefit of ritual in helping us become the people that we want to be and the best versions of ourselves that we want to be. And so I loved the rituals of wheel throwing and just this, always going back to the wheel, and the wheel spinning and, learning to master it. It was so difficult and took, well over a decade of dedicated practice while I was living the rest of my life. I had a career as an educator. I was growing my family. And so just a wheel thrower. And then, what year was it? 2016. I was working in an interfaith organization where I was treated very, very poorly because I am Muslim, and the other Muslims that worked there were treated really poorly. And I was really heartbroken by the experience. And so I came home every night and I started sculpting these vessels. And I really didn't know what I was doing because, like I said, I never worked in sculpture before. But I was compelled to just keep making these vessels. And I kept making them, all different sizes, very simple sort of pinch pot design. And then I finally realized that I was making a representation of the 99 names of God in Islam, because that is the center of my life. It's something I always go back to, again, to think about, how do I become the best person that I can be? I always go back to these values that are embodied in the 99 names. So I sculpted these vessels, and then I fired them in this treatment. It's called a pit fire. You basically bury them and set them on fire, and you get all of these beautiful fire marks on them. And, each one of them is like a microcosm of the macrocosm. And that's really what the 99 names are all about. It's the diversity of all encapsulated in the one. And they're really a representation of us. This is us. Each of us are microcosms of the macrocosm. And because I was dealing with anti-Muslim bigotry and discrimination at work, part of what I was representing is that, the 99 names and this love of the diversity of all encapsulated in the one is the opposite of bigotry and discrimination. It's really being able to see the sacredness of each one of us and holding it as this deeply, deeply sacred object. So just showing you 3 of them so you can see how they're all different, but they all communicate, that they're from the same family. So I made this beautiful sculpture, and then it was just sitting on a shelf. And during the pandemic, in somewhat of a prophetic moment, the vessel started talking to me and said, we held you during this really difficult time in your life, and you should be creating a vessel for other Muslim women to step into and unload something that is hurting them, and that, but also getting in touch with all of their powerful tools of resilience that they have, so that they can think about their ability to transform, because that is what clay and ceramics is all about. This is why we fire it. It moves from clay into ceramics by firing it. And so I created this online retreat project called 99 Clay Vessels, the Muslim Women's Storytelling Project. It took 2 years. We met with women in small groups, 10 small groups over 2 years, for a total of 99 Muslim women. We had these really deep and meaningful conversations about our lives and our experiences. And then I asked each woman to make a piece of artwork to commemorate her time in the group. It's all archived on 99clayvessels.com. Really beautiful and transformational project in my life, because I realized that I wanted to create more of these experiences to build community and connection. So this project really changed my life. It helped me realize that I was a sculptor, and that part of my practice was also this, these socially engaged art projects. So that was the 99 Clay Vessels. And then from the 99 Clay Vessels project, I realized that I wanted to stick with this theme of the 99, and also think about, what are some of the other powerful symbols in Islam that I could, translate through my artwork. So the 99 names or chapters from the Quran. So, some things I make are quite simple, but beautiful, like these pendants. This is from Surat al-Nahl, the chapter of the bees. Simple, but so beautiful, right? And these are also an important part of my practice, objects of remembrance. So we have this idea and practice in Islam called dhikr, which means remembrance. And it can be something like reciting the name of God over and over and over again to elicit a connection with divinity. And so the artwork that I make is meant to live in your life. This is something you could wear. You could wear it as a pendant, or there's a little hole here. You could just stick it in the wall. And then every time you see this, you think about the message in Surat al-Nahl, the chapter of the bees. Or other objects of remembrance. Here's a sculpture called Sajda, which means prostration. And this is one of the prayer poses of Muslims. And to me, it's really a representation of what a Muslim is. The word Muslim means to submit. And again, just this beautiful vessel that you can look at during the day and sort of remind yourself of this, this experience in your life that you want to remember. Or this is one of the 99 names of God, Al-Wadud. I call these Ya Wadud, love vessels, because Al-Wadud is the name that means the most loving one. And so these are abstract hearts. Can you see it? Think about what a heart looks like. And the two, the ventricles, and then the handle is really about like human connection, and that to really experience love, we have to have deep and meaningful relationships with one another. And so those are love vessels. This one is Fatiha, the opening. Al-Fatah is one of the 99 names that means the one who opens the opening. And Al-Fatiha is the name of the first chapter of the Quran, the opening of the Quran. And so this is abstract. You know, there are many, many holes, portal openings, and you could hang it on the wall like this, or it could just sit, you know, on a table in your house. And again, when you look at it, you think of Fatah, you think of the opening. And even more important, you then spend some time contemplating these concepts in your life. This is something many of us, you know, in the modern world, we're starving for. We're starving for this sense of connection, and we're starving for a sense of purpose and passion in our life. And the objects that I make are meant to remind you about what those sacred truths in your life are. Some things I make functional pottery, just really, really playful. This is a very sort of, you know, modern art mug. It's hard to see here, but these are like decals of butterflies. I still have to glaze this one, but you know, there's the 99 right there. So really fun and playful, but you know, functional. You can drink out of it. So that is what I make and what my art practice is all about. Thank you.